Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of our season 4, another duo episode, as I've been calling them. Cass and I are excited to sit down today, and we're going to talk to you about showing up on Instagram. But more importantly, one of the number one questions that we get a lot from our clients and our community is, do I have to use Instagram? And I really think that there's been so many shifts on using Instagram and also a lot of shifts around burnout about showing up and how much you want to share on Instagram. And these are some of the things that we're going to talk about. And then we're also going to talk about some alternative strategies. I mean, they're not like alternative as in like you've never heard them before, but strategies that we talk about with our clients for those who don't want to show up on social media. And those who do want to use a social media strategy, I think that there are new ways that you can embrace using Instagram, because I personally think that there has been a big shift in how we use Instagram, how it's structured, how other people are using it, and how the consumer, the person that you're trying to reach, is using it as well. So an exciting topic to get into it today. So, hey, Cass, well, I was going to say welcome to the podcast because I'm like used to interviewing people, but like, hi.
Hello. Yeah, so formal. It's funny because when we do these chats, I'm just like, I have this like warm blanket, no makeup. I have the warmest, thickest socks on because it's like 30 degrees here in Austin today. So
I know.
thank you for the formal introduction while I am looking way not formal on, well, very happy you guys can't actually see me, but audio wise, I'm here. And I am really excited to chat about this particular topic. And it was funny when you were talking about that. I was thinking, obviously, we're talking about social media in general, but then we always specify Instagram.
Really?
Because I do think that Instagram has become like the social platform that the majority of our audience or even our clients, when they're talking about showing up on quote unquote social media for their business, it's usually always Instagram. Obviously, there are other social platforms out there, YouTube and Facebook and like TikTok. But I think that whether, I'm sure there's a whole rabbit hole we could talk about why, whether it's like millennial generation or it's just become like the it platform. But I think that has kind of been the main platform, Instagram. So probably most of our conversation today will be focused around that specific platform, Instagram as a tool, platform in business, just because, like you said, that is the question that we usually get asked. Like, do I have to be showing up on social media? And then it's like, basically what they mean is Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that it does have to do a lot with like us being millennials, our target audience being millennials, like who we coach. Millennials, Gen X is a big portion, because I would say our Gen Z, or like those cuspers as they call themselves, those like cusper, Gen Z, Gen millennial, they definitely embrace, I think, more of what you were saying, like maybe TikToks and the other kind of newer strategies or newer ways that I've seen. So I feel like they don't have the same relationship with Instagram that we have as millennials and Gen X, because especially even when we started our business, and I do want to talk about kind of our journey with Instagram, is that was the platform to connect with people that eventually turned into the platform where you sell to your audience. And so I think that that's really interesting, something I want to touch on as well. And so kind of to get into that, like our journey from kind of, let's say, you were really leading Instagram. So Cass, I'd love to hear from you, the change and the shift kind of from us being like so full on Instagram and to now a different approach. And actually, I run more of the Instagram strategy now too, which is kind of interesting because you're the CEO and I'm the COO. So I'm sure people following us on Instagram have noticed the shift of like the type of content, the way that we show up. I'm in those DMs, like it's different and I love it. So we still use Instagram, but I'd love to kind of take a step back and just have you share like how we have used it in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, my journey with Instagram, without getting into like when I started using Instagram, but really started because I loved the creative outlet of it. I think Instagram became this tool when I was in college, and I was like, this is so fun as a creative person. Like you mentioned, that's been a huge part of just me as a person, my passion, but also my role in Bucket List Bombshells is like leading our marketing strategy and just diving into all things creative. And so Instagram for me, why I loved it as a tool, quote, back in the day, I guess I can say now, just to age myself a little bit. But yeah, that was why I loved using Instagram. And then kind of fast forward when I was really starting my very first business, I think Instagram was this tool that I saw as an outlet for kind of this passion of mine of travel blogging, which I know we don't really use this term anymore, but for those of you that have kind of followed along and were around then, it's probably very specifically millennials, travel blogging was like the thing. Like if influencers were around in 2013, it would have been, in my opinion, or from what I've seen or saw, was travel bloggers. And I love traveling, as you guys all know. I was living in Mexico at the time. And so kind of starting the idea of being able to start my own business and continue traveling that seemed like what I was seeing online as the way to do it. So I followed a lot of travel bloggers. A lot of the early travel bloggers that I followed also seem to be big like storytellers. And you guys have been around for a while, I love writing. And so just like this combination between using these two passions and skill sets of writing, but also documenting your travels. So obviously it made a lot of natural sense when, you and I started Bucket List Bombshells, and a huge part, like the part of Bucket List Bombshells and our very first course, the Work Online and Travel the World course, was traveling. And that was a huge part of our brand. So it just seemed so natural to apply kind of some of these things I loved from a creative aspect from travel blogging. Now we have this business and brand that does have a large focus of being able to have an online business and travel. It just felt like the natural tool to use. I was already kind of using it just personally in that way. And so basically I kind of just like took the platform and ran with it for years and used it as a way to document our travel, to show what we were doing. As we've talked about in many previous episodes, we didn't really know anybody else who was doing what we were doing, traveling and working online. So it was just like such an easy way to obviously pull out your phone and just like show what you were doing. And so this was kind of like you mentioned early a little bit ago. This was before I think we really got to see the maybe negative effects of social media, or just like the length of time that you've been on it. And then you start to see other aspects and sides of it. So for all the years that I ran Bucket List Bombshells Instagram, I fully loved and enjoyed like just the process of it, the creativity of it. It was so fun. I connected with so many amazing women in our community. We connected with other business owners through Instagram that would reach out to us because they knew we were living in Bali or living in Mexico. And so it really was just this it felt like at the time, a tool set that was not only used to grow our business, but from my mindset, how I like to use it, it was so fun. I really enjoyed it. So that kind of, I guess, brought us all the way to like 2019, 2020. And I think for a lot of us, mental health became a big topic of conversation in 2020, which is no surprise because of COVID. And I think I just started evaluating, I think it's a bit of a combination of like, I started evaluating the things in my life that were really adding to my life in a really positive way. And then at the same time, I think it also just subconsciously, which is kind of weird to reflect on, but it just subconsciously started to not feel like a tool that was allowing me personally to thrive. And it started to seem more like a burden than it did in the past, of this like really amazing way to connect with the community. I think, comparison, just like seeing so many other people, this kind of like comparison trap, feeling like I at some point needed to show up, even if I didn't feel like showing up. And obviously, Shay, you know me so well. If I don't feel like doing something, like it just feels I feel it through my bones. It just, this, um, I don't know. It just started really like seeming to like push on each other. This desire, or like this desire to be like, okay, this is what we do. We've always done it this way. So you show up and you share your life and your business on social media. And then this other side that felt like, which I hadn't really felt that often before, like I don't feel like either sharing my life right now, just like a lot of really challenging things that I was going through from the start of 2020 through, years after that. And I didn't want to share all of those things. I didn't want to keep picking up the phone, and I didn't want to be sharing my life. And then there was also this weird other side of it that like I wanted to be so much more present in my day-to-day life. And I didn't want to be experiencing my life or have even people around me that I do life with feel like they were always in front of a camera. I pretty much just slowly just stopped doing it and started focusing on other outlets and other avenues in the business from a marketing perspective that brought me joy or that just felt more connected and more aligned. And so I think I'm curious to hear from you too, because obviously we're business partners and like, some of the personal choices that we make in our own lives affect how we run our business. And so I think that kind of led to just you and I shifting, and we just sort of naturally started adjusting the business. And like we just talked about in the last episode, lots of transition and pivoting in the business in general. This became a big point for you and I of like, how do we want to market and grow the business in alignment without me personally, like me, Cassie, being the face, like the face of our Instagram account. So anyways, that was like the non-Spark Notes journey, but also wanting to share like as much nuance, because I do feel like there is a lot of nuance to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I feel like you really like dove into the depths of like your experience that I think people have been asking us because our community felt so connected to us on Instagram. And there's definitely other ways you can maintain that connection with your community. And I think that it was just probably a lot of people feeling the same way. Like I feel like there was this period of time and it was happening right before, I remember 2019, like kind of happening right before the pandemic, where like what we were feeling is, that overwhelm, that pressure, comparison trap. Social media became this thing where it was like the polished, perfect version. But then I feel like we all swung on Instagram, like to the other side where it was like, I was watching people like have full on crying meltdowns on Instagram story. And I personally was like, I don't want to show up that way. And so it did become this thing of how much do I want to share and be present in my life with not always having to share everything, but still maintain the connection, or it is a resource. And we'll talk about how it is a tool. It's a marketing tool. And if you want to use it, absolutely you can use it. And so I think that it was, to me, I don't feel like it was this black and white, like hard decision. It was sort of a natural evolution where I just think people were themselves exhausted with Instagram. And the less we used it, the more noticeable that I saw that it did not have a significant impact on our revenues or our conversations or our way to, sell our programs or connect with our audience. So that was really eye-opening as well. And I think that there's a lot of people listening that feel like they have to be on social media, required to be on social media to be able, and again, we're more focused on Instagram when I say social media, but like we're required to show up and have this really robust content strategy and, have this really robust marketing plan for their Instagram. And when you are working more, like in our last episode, we talked about our shift from digital products to more one-on-one services like coaching or group services, group coaching programs. And so for those of you with service-based business, I don't think you need a very strong social media plan in the beginning unless it's something you're passionate about. And so I think it may be different still for digital products, like my opinion on what that would look like. But I think there was this shift of I actually don't think people really share that much about their lives because we kind of pendulum swing too much sharing. And then I do think there's still lots of people that I think do a really good job. I would say that I would consider them more influencers that strike a good balance. Jenna Kutcher is someone that comes to mind, course creator, and I would consider her more of an influence, like a good balance between sharing her life. I think you and I have ever considered ourselves influencers. We've always considered ourselves, whether that's teachers, entrepreneurs, here to provide a service for you, here to help you get from point A to point B. And I think that there is a balance you can find. But for service-based providers or even digital product, like a business owners, you don't have to be an influencer. And I don't think you have to have this extremely robust social media presence. I've even seen successful course creators like Paige Brunton completely move off of Instagram, and she sells digital products and she is still wildly successful with other channels such as a YouTube strategy, which that is much more focused on how-to videos, or YouTube videos you can show lifestyles or vlogging. It's just not as such an immediate, consumption of our lives. So kind of switching gears into, why these entrepreneurs feel they have to be on social media, and sort of talking about how it's in a broader marketing ecosystem and how people can be successful on social media. What is some of the advice you kind of want to start with, Cass, in terms of like, how can we, have it as a tool if we want, or not use it if we don't want to and still be successful?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up about Paige and just some of the other entrepreneurs. And I think that a lot of women in our community and our clients, I think they feel pressured to be active on social media because they see so many other entrepreneurs being active on social media. And one of the things that you and I talk a lot about, specifically with our Scale with Purpose client, is there is a difference between someone being active on social media and then people, I should say, not just people, but business owners actually generating leads, clients, and revenue through social media. And so from what you and I see working with women that are scaling their businesses, that is drastically different when you pull back the curtain and you start evaluating where are your leads coming from. And what is really interesting is that for honestly, like 95% of our clients inside of our Scale with Purpose mastermind program, which for those of you that don't know, is for women who already have a successful business and are looking to scale. So they already have clients, they have a client roster, they've been working with clients, they are generating revenue, they have been able to be relatively consistent. And when we start dissecting and analyzing their marketing strategy, usually it starts with like the wild majority. It's like there's maybe 10% of clients that are coming from Instagram. And I would say even maybe like 5% Instagram, 5% Facebook for those that are in more niche Facebook groups and they're sometimes getting clients that way. Or even if a client posts on your behalf in a group that they're in. So there is some connection to social media. But it is very, very rare that we hear someone that's like, I post a Instagram reel and I'm getting like a ton of client leads. Or I show up on Instagram every single day and I'm just getting like loads of DMs about people who want to work with me. It's so rare that we have clients that are extremely active on social media and that's where they're getting their clients. It is usually clients from networking, from word of mouth, from other organic marketing channels. And so what I love is that what you and I have done ourselves and also, how we coach the women in our programs is now we're basically shifting away from any marketing that is a quote unquote should. Like I just like threw the shoulds out the door. I just think that like life is too short. You didn't start a business to have somebody be like, you should do it this way, you should do it that way. And I also think that you're going to be more successful if you do find the strategies, and I would say organic marketing strategies that you enjoy and that work for you. And I think it's actually really surprising to people that you were chatting earlier about like alternative methods, but there are good alternative methods that if you were to just double down on the 1 to 2 organic marketing channels that are actually working for you, whether it is, networking, going to a networking event, referrals, conferences, guest podcast episodes, live workshops, whatever it is that you are doing, blog post writing, analyze where your clients or leads are actually coming from. And I guess I should also say not just leads, because we also want those people that are leads that are actually turning into clients, because maybe you do have a bunch of leads coming from Instagram, but they are never the ones that close and become clients. Obviously there could be different reasons for why that is, but we also want to look at where are our clients coming from. And if we were to double down on the areas and marketing strategies and channels where our dream clients or our best clients are coming from, then we could only do that. And you could have a very light social media presence, like you mentioned. I do think it's important to have a presence. I think that, I don't know if it's the millennial in me that just feels like if I see a business and I Google it and then I try to go to their Instagram and the handle does not exist, I just feel like the business doesn't exist. I know it's not totally accurate, but I think that there should be some presence. And that's kind of the transition, I guess, that you and I have made behind the scenes with how we have used Instagram, but also utilized other organic marketing strategies, not paid, and also what has really been working for our clients. And it's so funny because they're always like, oh my gosh, I never thought about that. Like, here I am, so worried and so guilty that I'm not showing up and like creating reels every single day. Yet you've told me that all of your clients have come from this other avenue, all your dream clients, and like you're not even amplifying in that area. It seems to be a major light bulb moment for them. And I think gives them a lot of permission. Not that anybody needs the permission, but we tend to give a lot of permission to our Scale with Purpose clients of like, not only do you not need to do it in this massive way, especially showing your life, like showing what you had for breakfast, talking when you're going on a run, like showing your house, showing your, I don't know, like when I'm saying showing up, it's usually in that way, like this, you need to have your phone always on you and documenting everything. And then it also becomes permission to step into other organic marketing channels, have a stronger focus, double down, and then see better results. And then everybody's happy because you're not sitting there feeling guilty and just not that excited that you have to show up and like create a reel.
Yeah, totally. And just to speak to, I love that you mentioned like about having a presence, because I would say that my recommendation is not to just not be on social media. And if it's Instagram specifically, I really love that you did talk about your target audience. Like there is probably a platform, if we just widen it bigger than just my focus on Instagram, there's probably a quote unquote social media platform that your target audience is on, whether that's Facebook, that could be LinkedIn, it could be YouTube. I know we don't classify that one as social media, but let's say a content creation tool. It could be Instagram, it's TikTok, whatever it is. I do think that you need to choose a platform and have some version of a presence, because there's that trust and credibility factor of like, oh, okay, they're online, their business is established, or they can see, you're active somewhere online and they can have a conversation with you. So kind of speaking to how it fits into like the broader marketing ecosystem and our transition, and what we talk a lot about with our clients is seeing it as a tool to have conversations, or to, yes, show like on social media, show the wins of your business, show the behind the scenes of your business, show client, like things you're doing with clients. Because of the people that you want to sign on as clients, they, show them, if you're a designer, show them a little behind the scenes of what you do, not like how to's, like just showing what you're doing in your business that you could do for someone else. So client success stories, absolutely. And then also, for the aspect of getting to know you, I see this a lot of on Instagram carousel posts of just saying, hey, like this is what I did this month, or this is, what I'm working on or what I'm excited about or this or that. There's ways that you can incorporate and through writing really your personality as well. Using it more, I would say it's more of a conversation tool, connection tool for conversations versus here's, the lifestyle of what we're doing and living, and now you comment on it and that kind of thing. And I view it more as a sales tool. It's a way that I can, if we are connecting with them via email, we're connecting with them on podcasts or workshops. An Instagram DM is such a fun and easy way to have, or just an IM conversation, instant message conversation, just opening up a conversation with someone you want to work with and having a genuine conversation. I think that's the big key, is that there are a lot of people getting exhausted by just getting spammed into their inboxes. So a strategy that we always like talk with our clients is how do we, and again, it goes back to how do you want to show up? What is your brand voice? How do you want to speak to your clients? And what can you share with them? And then just making sure not to just throw in a first message that's like, hey, work with me, actually using social media to be a social tool to have connection and conversations. And I think that there's definitely ways that we can use it in the content in the grand scheme of everything that you do. There's lots of different types of content. You can post about your business and focus it on what you do, and then have real conversations with people in your DMs. And then another thing that I wanted to speak to, if you are someone who wants to have a social media presence and where you want to, going back to what Cass was talking about, like really understanding your target audience and not just where they're showing up, but what they are interested in, what they want to hear about, what they're engaging with. And something I read recently and actually really landed with me, and it's something that I want to personally dive into, and talked about how there's been a big shift away from people feeling there is like this social connection. So like what we've been talking about, less and less people are posting about their lifestyle. There are still, of course, influencers will post about their lifestyle, but businesses are posting less and less about them and their lifestyle and more about, especially because of the algorithms with Reels, it's actually turned into an interest-based platform is now what this article I was reading is calling it. So if you think about, because I've experienced this personally, if you think about, and this mostly focused on Reels or TikToks or the other types of functionalities on the other platforms like that, is when you're scrolling, the algorithms are now adjusted to show you things you're interested in. I see a ton of content about books and authors and novels and just like the conversations there and the funny videos. I love comedy. I get so much targeted to me for comedy. And then, of course, I'm interested in business. So I get a lot of things. I'm always trying to learn a new marketing strategies. Even though I'm not in the marketing, I find them interesting and I'll click on that stuff, right? So it's now being considered in 2025 that these social media platforms are more now considered interest-based and less, let me show you my shiny lifestyle and let me be inspirational, although, and aspirational maybe would be the term, although there is still content like that out there. But I encourage you to take a look when you're scrolling, see what kind of content, more so in the Reels or the TikToks, like what content is being shown to you. And then if you feel it's interest-based, which is what I personally feel mine is extremely interest-based versus, and that's why small creators can actually do really well now. And the algorithm is actually, I think, shifting to help smaller creators, because if you have something interest-based and you just focus on posting interest-based content, you can grow quite quickly on Instagram. I have not tested this series. This is more of something that I think personally, my opinion would be that this is accurate. So when you go back to what Cass talked about with your target audience, if you want to have a social strategy and you do want to produce content, there are tons of people that you guys are creative. You want to be producing the content. There's cool things. I mean, I like scrolling on IG Reels and the people took time to create that content for me. Think about adding into this overview of your target audience, like if you could drill down, what are their social interests? And then how can you create content that matches those interests? And those interests, for example, sometimes when I click on some of these marketing videos or these people who are marketing, what would you call them? Marketing service providers. They also kind of going back to like, it doesn't have to be a pillar that's just marketing related. Like they'll post something and I like them because I'm really into health and wellness. And then they'll have something, health and wellness, that is related to them as a marketing service provider. But it was shown to me because of my interest in both health and wellness and marketing. So think about their lifestyle interests and think about their interest in why they would hire you. And if you want to create a content plan, I would highly encourage you to focus your attentions there with video content.
In your opinion, like let's say we are talking about a light social media presence or approach, like how often, you talked about interest-based content, which I think can be really helpful, especially for women who have niched into a particular target audience, which, it's just a lot easier to create interest-based content in that industry. So I think that's really cool. But in your perspective, like if we're talking about social media light, like how often are you doing content? And then maybe also sharing a little bit more about how you are using these DM conversations, because I think that's something we've started to hear a little bit more and more about in our world, in the business world, is like sell in your DMs, sell in your DMs, just like slide into people's DMs. So my question from the audience, but also question from me.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's such a great question. Because even at, when I talk about the creating reels, all of that, I only would say that wouldn't even be a part of my social media light plan. That would be if you want to show up as a content creator, and that's where your leads are coming from. Because I should also want to preface that, going back to what Cass was saying, I want you on this episode to evaluate where your past leads have come in from that you've closed into sales and how you close them. And so if we look at social media light, like we do recommend having some version of a presence. What I talk about with my clients is max 2 posts a week, and they don't have to be reels, because I feel like that one is the most daunting to people. And the one that I think takes the most time, and the one that I see people just agonize over. And from a sales perspective, doesn't get them leads that they close into clients. So for social media light, when I say 2 posts, that's typically the bare minimum. And what I want you to focus on, as I said before, is I want you to focus on your business. So, and especially client wins, client projects, anything behind the scene, anything with a win that you had in your business, landing a new client, showcasing them, that kind of thing. So most of the time, static posts or carousels are what our clients are doing. And so that shows a presence. So mostly so that if someone comes to your Instagram, they see that you're an active business, whichever social platform. Now, what I love and I think is working really well is Instagram DMing, or DMing in general, because this strategy can work on something like LinkedIn or even Facebook. The thing is, what I've noticed though, and the thing that I tell our clients to stay away from, is just like mass DMing a template message that is basically pitching right in that first message. So going back to who you want to work with, in service-based businesses, in businesses that you're working one-on-one, you do not need mass amount of sales like you might need in a digital product to reach the revenue goals that you have, especially if many of our clients have recurring services, like a social media manager, a podcast manager, a content marketer, and so many other ones. You just need, let's say, 5 clients a month recurring on a package. Or if you're a website designer, you need X, new website design clients a month, but you're charging probably significantly more than a recurring package. So again, utilizing a DMing strategy allows you to be more particular, more authentic, more genuine with who you actually reach out to. So a great strategy that works really well is if you are posting on social media, you have hashtags, you tag your clients, your biggest advocate, past clients, tag them, ask them to share. What's going to happen is you're probably going to get new leads. New followers. When those followers follow you, they are saying, hey, I'm interested. They've probably, like I said, you keep your profiles updated, because then they're able to see, they can tell what you offer, types you work with, what you talk about on social media, and they're choosing to follow you because they're interested. So what's great about that is they've already given you an opener. They've already said, hey, I'm interested in, following along what you're posting about. So as soon as they follow you, I highly recommend sending them a welcome to my quote unquote community, welcome to, my slice of the internet. You have whatever your brand voice is, figure out, and genuine. Again, you can templatize it, but try not like maybe comment about something on their profile. What's cool is you can say, hey, if you can tell, because a lot of my clients can tell that they came from a certain client that they posted about, you can mention that. Oh, it looks like we have a mutual friend. I actually just designed her site and published it. So cool. You interested in redesigning your site, launching the same business? What's your industry? Ask them a question that's open-ended. Get a conversation started. Don't just say, hey, I have spots, want to work with me. Ask them a question and open up the floor. And if they respond, have a conversation, respond genuinely to what they say. And then yes, within the first, I would say 3 messages of going back and forth, we do want to position what you do, who you are, who you work with, and let them know you have spots available if you do. And this is where we're having more genuine conversations. I don't want you messaging people that don't message you back. You can still go on and cold message people that you find that and you follow them. And even if they don't follow you back, you can. But a lot of times your message is going to end up in message requests. So I do highly encourage you that when people follow you or you go out and follow people and then they follow you back, that's when we start these conversations. And this is where I've had clients be very successful in selling, quote unquote, this like sales in your DMs. Usually what we're doing is we advocate for getting them on a sales call. You want to make sure that client is the right fit for you. You only have so many spots for someone to work with you. So for you, I do encourage you to not get hung up on seeing a lot of people say, oh, closing your DMs, X amount I made in my DMs. I don't really resonate personally with that strategy. So what I would say is track how many leads, how many sales calls are you booking from your Instagram DMs. If you are consistently having conversations with people over, let's say, even as big of a window as 90 days, then you can confidently say that that works for you and you can double down maybe on the amount of people that you're trying to gain as followers or whatnot, but to open up more DM conversations. So just to summarize, like bare minimum 2 posts, they don't need to be video based, 2 posts a week, talking about your business, and then following people. And when people follow you back, tagging your clients, this kind of thing, open up conversations with people who are choosing to follow you.
That was so helpful. I think the piece that I wanted to just touch on is like, I love how client focused and just how client focused that approach is, because for those of you that are listening right now, I am assuming that, if you're using Instagram, you are wanting to use it to grow your business. Obviously, from a business perspective, we're not talking about like your personal life or your personal Instagram or whatever you want to do there. But like if you're thinking about or you are using Instagram as a tool right now for your business, I am assuming it's because you have seen or you believe that it's going to lead to growth and more clients or more leads, more revenue, hitting your revenue goals. And so I think it's really important to take a look at the tool, take a look at Instagram, just like we would evaluate other aspects of the business, or I would even say like expenses. In this case, Instagram is organic, so it's not really like a monetary expense, but it is like an energy expense. If you are spending a lot of time and energy, and like you're saying, people do have, we have clients who feel so drained by the idea of creating content or creating a reel, then, there's an quote unquote expense there. So I think it's important to evaluate it and to look at it from that perspective of like, is it really leading to client? Is it really leading to client growth? Is it really leading to increased revenue? And maybe you're sitting here and you're like, yes, Cassie, it is. And so I think the approach that you just gave is super helpful. And then if it's not, I think this is a really amazing and hopefully eye-opening opportunity for you to reevaluate how much time and energy you're spending on Instagram because you think it's leading to your business growth, but it's actually not. And then that allows you to refocus your time and energy on strategies that do lead to revenue growth in your business. And then it allows you to spend that, energy expense, like we were saying, into other things, whether that's into other aspects of your business or just your life, and that's where I think it's important to really evaluate it from that perspective. And then for me, from a personal perspective, I've been able to just spend so much of that time and energy that I normally, like, trust me, guys, like I used to spend like hours, especially when we lived in Bali, like it would be my evening so that content would show up in North America morning. So I would spend like a good 1 to 2 hours every evening taking all the content that I had, shot that day and then creating stories, releasing it in stories or posting or editing or whatever it was. And then throughout the day, of course, as I was doing things, I would feel the need to record things. And so I just think there's so much of my personal life for anybody who is like resonating with, this particular, my experience on Instagram or social media. It's really given me just like so much time back in my personal life that I've really loved. And I think I realized I was doing so many things that I maybe wouldn't normally do because I was showing them on social media. And like, I felt the need to document them. And it's very odd to say that out loud, but it seems like that's been years now. And I honestly can't even, like, I don't even think about posting things or like my day-to-day life, which is so odd. But I think for me, now that I've been doing that for 5 years of my life, and again, the desire became to be more present in my life. So it really had a positive approach. Like, that's why I was doing it. And I really do feel like that has been the results in a way where now our business Instagram is so much more focused on the business itself, less like our personal lives. And we get to use other outlets and other strengths. Like, I love writing. So just a small, just little like drop marketing promo there. Like, if you're not on our email list, join our email list, because that is an outlet and avenue that we do like to connect with you all on. So just some kind of practical tips too for people and conversations that I've had with people who are like, they look at me at first like I'm like an alien. And I know it must sound really odd, and I know it's not for everybody either. And I just want to say that if you do spend a lot of time on social media and you like it, or it's just not detrimental to you, like, there is literally no judgment at all. I'm just sharing my perspective and my experience. And I am very, very happy that we can say that, like, you don't have to be crazy active on Instagram or on social media to have a wildly successful business. The majority of our clients have a very Instagram light, like you were talking about. And if you were to have asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have been just distraught at the idea in my head of like, could that be a possibility? And I think it would have been a scary thing to approach. So yeah, just kind of sharing that side, I guess, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was a great note to kind of wrap up on. And for those listening, I want you to know that I implement the social media strategy light approach with our social media. So I can say, not just seeing it from what our clients work with, but seeing it from how it shifted and it still works for us. I still get to talk with so many of you women. I get to share our podcast episodes on there, our client wins. I follow my social media light strategy. I make it more about you, our community, and what we're doing with our clients and what we're doing in our business. If there is anything more that you want to know about our business that you would like to see us post on Instagram, I know that many of you are still on there. I'm in the Instagram DMs. It's me. It's not a team member. It's me. You post a comment in there, message me. You can let me know, hey, I would love to see more behind the scenes of this or XYZ of that. Happy to showcase that. Just wanted to kind of end on a fun note there. But before we wrap up, I know that we had a free worksheet for you ladies. Cassie, you could share more about that.
Yeah. When we were kind of planning the outline for this episode, I know for a lot of you, just like we talked about in this entire conversation, is like, how do you actually go about designing a social media optional business strategy. I don't think that's really a term, but we're just coining it now. And I like this because it's like social media optional. Like we were saying, you can throw out the shoulds. So if you do want to show up and it is, social media is a part of your strategy and you're excited about it, you want to be creating content. Basically, this worksheet is going to help you just rethink and analyze your marketing approach that you're currently using and help you define the platforms, not just social platforms, but just marketing platforms in general that really are aligning with your business goals and potentially your personal goals as well. And then make sure that you have a personalized organic marketing strategy that's really working for your business. It's going to be a really helpful worksheet for you to kind of take away some actionable steps and just evaluate or reevaluate likely what channels that you're using. And I think this should also give you a lot of just direction on what then to do, because I think that becomes the question is like, well, if I'm not really heavy on social media, then what is my marketing strategy? Because most women that we talk to believe that their marketing strategy is Instagram or is social media. And just to kind of bust a myth here at the end, it's really not. There are so many channels and different strategies that you can use for organic marketing. So download the worksheet. The link is in the show notes. It's totally free and it will just help you go through those steps and hopefully walk away with a much more clear strategy that is genuinely working for your business, whether you're using social media or not.
Amazing. Well, this was such a fun conversation, and I really think people are going to absolutely love it. And I think that we gave permission to people to do it or not do it, whatever they needed. This has been fun, and I will see everybody in the next episode.